Oh, right here, right here, right here. We are sorted. Door's a bit janky. And again, everything in this van is a bit janky. Let's go for a bit of a dander and have a little bit of a chat, eh? Come on. Not exactly inspiring. The weather, the mood, the landscape. It's a good job this week's Sunday vlog is a chatty one rather than a photographic one. Bit of a catch-up. Let's keep wandering in this absolutely wonderfully inspiring landscape. Images all around, stunning light, epic hills. Wow. Maybe I'll just put all that in with AI later on. Right guys, so yes, a little bit of a chatty one this week. Apologies for that if you came here looking for images. Back to normal next week. And firstly, let me just wish you Happy New Year. Now, I know it's coming up to the end of January, but is there any sort of set limit to which you can no longer wish someone a Happy New Year? If it's the first time you've seen them in the new year and it's March, can you still wish them Happy New Year? I think so. And a pistols at dawn for anyone who disagrees. I think the farmer's coming back. He drove up past me, carrying what sounded like a very angry bull. 2 minutes. Angry bull has been deposited in yon farmyard. Warn me if you see a angry looking bull making its way towards me. Hope you've enjoyed the last couple of weeks, 5 weeks, of videos from Scotland that was recorded at the tail end of 2025. God, I love Scotland. It's just absolutely spectacular. Right away from just enjoying the coastline. So I've got the old GFX on the go, and we're just gonna have 15-20 minutes of just pure, unadulterated enjoyment as this light and Ardnamurchan and Scotland does her thing. Absolutely stunning. In fact, Ardnamurchan, as I think I mentioned in a couple of those vlogs, is fast becoming one of my favourite places in the whole of Scotland. And that's actually the second visit that we managed to squeeze in 2025. We were there in the February time frame, sort of early spring. And then obviously we were there in October as well. And it's just incredible, the coastlines, and then obviously a little bit of time in the woods. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't great. Wow. However, I have absolutely no idea how I would photograph this. I think the gnarl is beyond me, but it is absolutely stunning. But then Scotland showed all of her beauty with some of the light chasing, in fact, and I'll come on to this later in the vlog. Running around handheld was so freeing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to really enjoy the process, the long, slow, thoughtful process of landscape photography. But my giddy aunt, running around like a headless chicken, chasing light, and especially some of the light that we had on Ardnamurchan, was just incredible. Oh my. I mean, we're about to get absolutely drenched, but a good old-fashioned light chase. Gotta have a rainbow in there. That rainbow's getting closer to me, which means not a pot of gold, a pot of rain. Oh well, what are you gonna do, eh? Absolutely stunning! And then, of course, the time that we spent on the Isle of Mull. So I just heard said angry bull again, but I think it's quite a bit up there. The time we spent on the Isle of Mull as well. forgotten it's been years since we were last on Mull, and forgot just how much we enjoy it. And while the weather was, let's just say, a little bit challenging. Okay, this is just getting ridiculous now. I'm just getting really wet for no apparent reason. Oh. She rewarded us tenfold with some of the most incredible views that we've ever had. I keep saying we, myself and Nicola obviously, that we've ever had of wild otters. It was incredible. Stunning views of the otter up here. And then just to sort of, say goodbye, it left us a little poo. Fabulous. Now, hopefully, at some point in 2026, we do get to go back and spend a little bit more time on the Isle of Mull. And if you're thinking of something to do in 2026 and you're staying in the UK and you're thinking of maybe heading north to Scotland, yeah, get yourself over to Mull. It's beautiful, absolutely stunning. And since leaving Mull, we had a little bit of time down in Easdale. Well, actually, the little village on the mainland beside Easdale, I can never pronounce it. And then we took a little ferry, 1 minute sort of ferry over to Easdale. And in fact, I think Easdale would be somewhere that I'd love to spend a little bit of time. The 2 times I visited last year had some stunning light, but it wasn't really for photography. And I think it's one of the, Easdale, if you don't know, it's one of the Slate Islands. And in fact, the World Championship stone skimming championships are held there. That'd be pretty cool to go and see. But actually some of the slate below your feet and things, just beautiful. I think that'd be a nice place to spend a little bit of time with the camera, and of course stunning views out to Mull as well. And then after leaving Easdale, drove down to Stranraer, got the ferry back over to Ireland, which is where we spent pretty much all of November and all of December, toing and froing between Belfast and Portrush and a few other bits and pieces, just spending time with family and friends. Not a huge amount of photography. I did manage to squeeze in a couple of travel articles, which is quite good. Keep the old coffers going. And but we mostly just spent it with friends and family. And then I actually came over, Nicola flew over and spent a bit of time with her mum over Christmas. I flew over just before New Year. And in fact, New Year's Eve, at Christmas, I actually bought myself a new lens. More on that in next week's vlog. And I found myself on New Year's Eve, not out partying, but standing staring at some stunning light on the side of a shed, testing out said new lens. And as I think I'll talk about in next week's vlog, I think this new lens is probably going to see quite a lot of action in the year ahead. And that pretty much brings us up to date. A couple of things I want to talk about before we get into sort of the main meat of the vlog, which is sort of looking ahead to 2026. First and foremost, every year I produce a little e-zine called 12. Not surprisingly, it's 12 images that tell the story of my year. Not necessarily the best images, not necessarily my favorite images, but just images that at that time sort of tell a story of the previous year. And I'm going to say this, and hopefully it will be out. It should be out, and I'll put a link below. If it's not already out, then it will be out in the next couple of days. But the link below will take you to the little 12 area on my website where you can download not only this year's, if it's available already, but the last 5 or 6 years as well. And of course, your support there is very much appreciated. It is completely free, and it will remain free. But it's always useful. It's always quite nice when I get some feedback from folks who have downloaded it. And I would highly recommend sort of doing something like this. I started it out just as a bit of a memory sort of thing for me, but it's been nice actually having that now start to grow into a bit of a collection. I'm just looking behind you here, so I see a couple of very boisterous dogs walking along. So I'm going to put you away for a few moments because dogs like to jump up on tripods we'll wander on for a bit and we'll carry on with this chatter chinwag. Well, the weather has forced us back indoors, but we can carry on chatting. So that's 12. Love it if you were to go ahead and download that. The other thing I produce each year, or in fact a couple of times a year, is my photography magazine, Bimbles. I think this might be the 12th release coming out in Q1 of this year. And it's really just a little bit of an update on my own photography journey, a little bit of update on our travels, maybe some technical articles, a little bit from my photography journal that I keep. But I also do like to share other creatives out there, either my friends or people who have met online. So if you are in any way involved in something, a creative pursuit, be that photography or painting or making something, then please do get in touch. Don't have to be professional either, just something that you do in your spare time. And I'd love to showcase your work in the Bimbles magazine. The next release is going to be probably late February, early March. And I'll stick a link down below where you can download all of the latest issues from the last couple of years. So while I don't particularly find it useful to dwell too much on the past, 2025 was a little bit of a letdown both from a travel perspective. If any of you have come across from our travel channel, you know that we suffered some major breakdowns which completely derailed our plans, but also from a photography perspective as well. And in fact, I would say that sort of bled over from 2024. Certainly the last 18 months have been rather barren from a creative perspective. That did start to improve a little bit by the end of the year, obviously with the trip up to Scotland and a few other little small sorties out in Ireland. But generally 2025 was a little bit of a letdown. Now, obviously, one of the things I mentioned was that I was starting this YouTube channel again, or starting up posting content to it, because we have stopped making our main travel vlogs. And it's certainly something that I'm going to carry on doing. And as I said in that little sort of announcement back a couple of months ago, relaunching the photography channel, I was under no illusions that the photography genre is a very saturated genre on YouTube. And of course, YouTube is a changing beast as well. So unsurprisingly, the tumbleweeds have been blowing through pretty much all of the vlogs that I have posted so far. But rather than getting downtrodden about that, the whole reason for making the vlogs is I just enjoy doing it. I just enjoy taking 5 people, if it's only 5 people watching, along for the ride. Viewing numbers are in the tens, but I'm completely okay with that. The photography vlogs will carry on throughout 2026, irrespective if 1 person or 1,000 people show up. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to carrying on, taking you on our travels with the camera over the next couple of months. Right, let's get a little bit serious now. 2026, I feel, is going to be quite a watershed moment, not just for my photography, but just generally. At the tail end of 2025, I suffered a couple of at the time I didn't really know what was happening, but I suffered a couple of pretty severe panic attacks. And this is whenever we were on the road. One in particular, I was pretty sure that I was seconds away from passing out. Now, I know that doesn't quite often happen. It's more of a psychological thing. But to say that they were quite frightening, having never suffered from panic attacks before, it was quite off-putting. And in fact, I'm sorry to say that in the first couple of months or the first couple of weeks of 2026, those panic attacks haven't been as severe, but they are certainly still happening. And one of the most frustrating things that they are causing is they are limiting the amount of time that I kind of want to be outside. They're happening when I'm outside. They're happening when I'm a perception that I'm a little bit far away from home base, the van. So they have been nobbling my outdoor time, which then has a negative effect on my sort of mental health anyway. So it's a bit of a vicious circle that I'm in at the moment. Late October, I suffered a pretty horrific shoulder impingement injury to the point where I was struggling to even move my left arm. And that also had an impact on my running. I wasn't able to run. And so November and December were pretty much spent indulging in too many bad vices. And suffice to say that fitness took a complete backseat, both from a physical injury perspective and also from the panic attacks. In January, I realised that I needed to face these kind of head on. And so I have started. Thankfully, the shoulder impingement is 85% sorted. Still quite sore, in fact, just holding this camera like this. Ouch, hang on a minute. Oh. Now, interestingly, when I'm out with the camera, I'm able to keep those attacks under some kind of control, which is a positive. And so I'm hoping that over the next couple of weeks that I can continue to build up my, not resistance, but my ability to sort of have a process where I can talk myself down off the ledge when I feel I certainly can preempt now when I'm about to have a panic attack. And I think a lot of it is going back to what happened back in October when I was convinced, tunnel vision. I lost the feeling in both my arms, pins and needles, and I was convinced that I was just about to cop it, and then that kind of set it, the whole panic attack thing in perpetual motion. So, but thankfully it would seem that my secret weapon against those panic attacks is actually being out and about with the camera. So given the fact that the time out with the camera is really helping me to overcome these panic attacks, as you can imagine, I'm trying to get out as much as possible with said camera. And I alluded to it at the start of this vlog and also talked about it in one of my the Chasing the Light vlog. I've really been enjoying just running about, walking about handheld, and in fact over the next couple of weeks there'll be a couple of vlogs coming out where it's exactly that. I'm just out wandering around, getting in my daily steps while also just capturing the world around me. Yes, there's still going to be some or plenty of in the field, a bit more thoughtful out with a tripod, but it's been really nice just to get back to just handheld, and handheld including with the old GFX as well. That's a camera that I always assumed that it was only ever going to be used on the tripod. But actually some of the images that I've actually made walking about, now it's a bit of a beast to sort of carry about. I wouldn't like to sort of do that for too long, especially compared to my little X100T. But it is still quite nice to know that the GFX holds up quite well in doing some handheld photography. So that's all good. Now, I really want 2026 to be project based. I have about 3 or 4 projects that are ongoing at the moment. That being said, however, I don't think any of the work that I'm going to put into those projects will appear on the vlog. I want to kind of keep those on the back burner. So the vlogs are going to be more about just out and about, enjoying time with the camera, getting a little bit of fitness back, and hopefully along the way taking you along to see some pretty nice locations, and maybe getting an image or two. But the primary sort of goal for me in the next couple of months is to completely overcome these panic attacks and get back to some level of fitness. And I think the camera is as I say, my secret weapon to achieve both of those things. Now, at the end of the year, I would love to produce at least one zine, a physical zine. Given the nomadic nature of my life, probably will be limited to one, but I will probably produce at least 2 other e-zines as well that I'll publish at the end of the year related to these particular projects. But on the vlog, it's going to be more just generic, out and about, hopefully discovering some new places, doing a bit of handheld photography, experimentation and play. In fact, that I think is going to be the other major theme of the upcoming year. Play, experimentation, playing with the iPhone. You've maybe picked up a couple of my moments with the iPhone, little shorts already. Playing with the iPhone, playing with the X100T, playing with the X-T4, playing with the GFX, maybe playing with a film camera as well. Watch this space. Because, as I say, I really do think that 2026 for me is going to be a huge photography and hopefully lifestyle reset. And I'm kind of excited about it because it's giving me, not that I needed permission, but I'm giving myself permission just to go back to basics almost and not worry too much. Definitely not worry about, what others are watching or whether there's anyone watching the vlogs or whether anyone is reading my zines or things like that. This year is solely about me and being selfish with the type of photography that I want to make. And I'm rather excited about it. Nervous and apprehensive, but excited as well. Well, I think that's enough rambling for this one vlog. I'll say in the next day or so, might already be available. My 12 zine will be announced and released. What I'll do to finish off this vlog is I'll put up a little bit of a short list of some of the images from 2025 that didn't quite make the cut. I think there was a little bit too much urban photography for my liking in there, but of course needs must because we spent a lot of the time broken down in southern Portugal. But yeah, I'll put up a couple of images, or a bunch of images from 2025 that didn't quite make the 12 cut. And then I'm heading off to pick up Nicola and her mum from a garden centre. Really don't fancy getting into garden centres. And then back to the home base and start to do some final bits of planning, because this time next week, from the time of recording, we hope to be somewhere in northern France, heading south. But that will be a story for next time. I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to date, and I was in two minds whether or not I was going to kind of share what's been going on from the panic attack perspective, but maybe there's someone else out there who has suffered the same or is suffering the same. I'm happy that I've found something, the photography side of things, that helps me sort of keep that in check. And as I say, right now, how I feel about the panic attacks is it is still limiting how I feel about getting too far away from home base. I am able to get out and do some walking and some running, but I'm finding I'm able to push those physical mileage boundaries when I'm focusing on photography and not letting the old noggin take control. So I'm happy that I find something that's allowing me to control them, because they're pretty horrific. Having never suffered from them before, they are pretty horrific. Well, there's even an inkling of sunshine out there, but off to pick up the wife and the mother-in-law, back for some lunch, and then get some packing done, because mainland Europe is less than a week away. Right guys, well once again, thanks a lot for following along, and until next time, happy pixels. Take care. Bye bye.